Hey everyone, welcome to the video. I'm Gandorf, and today we're going to be going over an older box, but if you watch one of my previous videos where I talk about CTF methodology, I think it's a pretty good one to learn how to apply that. So if you don't recall, basically the methodology I use in CTFs boxes like this is going to be recon, exploit, repeat until you get both flags. I'll leave a link in the description to that video if you haven't checked it out yet. So the box we're going to be using today is a box called Cat Pictures. It's been out for a little while. I'm going to get the machine started up here. As always with these, always look to see if the creator left a note here. They did in this case, saying it will take a little bit for some of the services to start up, so be patient. Give it about 5 minutes and then we'll be ready to begin. Alrighty, we're back. Machine's good and ready to go. Services are up. So the first thing you want to do here is, of course, copy to clipboard if you're not familiar with these boxes. And you want to go into your etc host file and add it. We'll simply do that with sudo nano and then the path to the host file. And then you see in here, I've already got it added. Underneath my section for try hack me boxes, there's the IP address, and we're going to call it cats.thm. Now, personally, I like to do a quick scan within map first to see if there's anything in particular that stands out that's open. So I like to use the -F option. We're using -PN here since we know the server's up, so there's no need to ping it. Alright, so you see here we've got port 21 is filtered, we've got SSH, and we've got port 8080 HTTP proxy. So let's see if we can delve a little bit deeper within map and see if we can find anything about those ports. Here we are back with our next in-map scan. This time we're going to target just those 3 specific ports. We're using the -SVC option, which combines the -SV and -SC options into one, and we got our host name. Okay, we got our results back. Now with the FTP, as we saw in the other one as well, it is filtered. It means we're not going to be able to get any information on it for right now. SSH is open, and it looks like the 8080 is open, and it looks like it is hosting a website using Apache, and we should be able to connect to it. So let's go to our browser and see what we get. Alrighty, so here we are. Now if you're having trouble getting to this, I'm going to put down at the bottom here what you need to fully type out is http://cats.tm:8080. So as you can see, we've got a bulletin board form here. That's what the BB stands for. So we got one category here. So let's go take a look. And it's only got one post. So we'll open it up. Okay, post all your cat pictures here. Knock, knock, magic numbers. And you've got a list of numbers here. So what does this mean? Well, this is hinting at something that's kind of old in the security world, known as port knocking. And if you haven't been around for a while, you may not have heard of it. On especially these older boxes, if you get stuck or you're seeing references to something you're not familiar with, Try Hack Me does have a Discord that you can get onto and ask. Specifically, make sure you ask in the correct room. I believe it is room help on Discord. If not, I'll make sure to put the right channel name down below. In my description, I will leave a link to an article about port knocking, and in the article it does go over how to set it up and get it working. We're not going to be concerned with that. All we want to do is know how do we activate it. Well, what are we activating? I should say first. The most common explanation of what port knocking is making a reference to America in the 1920s with speakeasies. Back then you had to know the correct knocking pattern or password to get in. So that's where the idea comes from. Basically you have a port that's closed, such as our FTP port. What you have to do is access other ports by essentially pinging them once, and you have to do it in a certain sequence. You have to do them in a certain sequence. The host machine will listen, and when it recognizes that the pattern's been hit, it will open up the port. And people who are smart actually have a knock that closes the port back up too. So for Kali, the tool we're going to use is called knock. And if you don't have it installed, you never installed it before, you want to run the sudo apt install knockd. And then once you have it, we can run a command like what's here in the article, the knock-v, our host IP address, and our port numbers. Now the -v is going to be verbose, so you can see like how it is here hitting TCP That's what we want to make sure everything goes through. So back here on the website we can see we've got these numbers here. They're all 4 digits. Those are most likely ports. So let's go on our terminal and give it a try. Okay, so here we go. I've got the command, our host name, and our list of ports. Let's hit enter and see what happens. Alright, looks like I was able to knock on all of them. Let's run in map real quick, see if that port's still filtered. Okay, it's still filtered. So this is evident that we may have knocked too fast. Sometimes when you come across these, people are smart and they put a delay. So now we're going to use that option and see what we can get. Okay, so here we are again. We're using the -D option. As you see, I moved cats over. Typically that's how you want to do your target, your options, and your ports. And we got it set to 100 here, as you can see after the D. Now keep in mind this is in milliseconds, so 1000 milliseconds equals a second. We're just going to start with 100 here. If that doesn't work, then we'll keep incrementing by 100 until we find something that works. works. And we just check the port real quick, and now you can see we have a state of open. So let's see if we can use Nmap to take a look, see maybe anonymous works. Okay, so checking the port again, this time with that -svc option, we can see that it was able to connect and logged in as FTP. So that most likely means, yep, here we go, anonymous FTP login allowed. So let's connect to it. For that, we can just simply use the FTP command followed by our host name. And we're in. Using the ls command, we can see there is one file we have access to. That is this note.txt. So let's use the git command and get a copy of it. All right, looks like it transferred. We exit out. As we can see, we do have that here. This is a little Python script I wrote for a little bit later. Alrighty, so if we cat out the file, we can see that there is a port on 4420 that looks like it's got an interactive shell, and it has a password for it. Of course, password will be blanked out for here. So I'm going to simply copy this, close this out. And we're going to use netcat to connect to the port. For that, we'll use it like this, nc-v, then our host name, and then the port. We hit enter and ask for password. Took the password, it's accepted, let's see what we can find out. So this tells me that we have a very basic shell, but we should be able to find some things around here. So we do have a home directory, so let's list that out and see what's in there. Okay, we got one profile in here called cat lover. Let's take a look, see if there's anything in there. Looks like we have a file called runme. Wonder if we're able to run it. Let's take a look. Executable does not work in the internal shell. You need a regular shell. So how do we go about getting a better shell? Well, normally I would recommend the revshells.com site, but with my protections in place on my network, I actually cannot access the site right now. My systems are blocking me, believe it or not. So I'll leave a link to Pentestmonkey page here. It has a nice little list. The main one I'm going to be using here is this bash one. This will be our box's IP address, our attack box IP address. This will be the port that we have opening listening on it. So we come back to our shell here. I'm going to come over here to this other terminal. I'm going to do netcat nc. We use the options lnvp and set it to port 8000. This tells netcat to listen and to print out anything it hears coming in off that port. Now, back over here in our shell, we're going to see if we can get the rev shell started with that. So we will use the bash command like what we saw on the website, but we're going to unwrap it in this bash command execute. That way we have a better chance of it executing correctly. Okay, see if we got a callback. And we did. Okay, still not the best shell, but it will work better for us. So let's see if we can find out anything about this runme file. Okay, looks like we have read, write, and execute. 00 for owner and group. That's interesting. Okay, let's see if we can run it. If I type it right, we'll see if it can run. Ah, it's wanting a password. Access denied. Okay, let's check out the strings tool to see if we might be able to find anything. Uh-oh, we're in a spot where strings is not available. So what are we going to do now? Well, a lot of people will be stuck at this point. And if you got to looking around this machine a little bit, you'll notice that there's a lot of things missing. Find out why shortly. So how are we going to be able to look at this file and figure out what we need to do? Well, we're going to utilize netcat again. It has a lot of utility and a lot of usefulness. It's a tool you really need to become familiar with and all the little tricks with it. Granted, it's hard to find all those tricks in one place, but do some digging, find some articles, hop on Discord or other channels, hop on Discord and ask around. I'm sure someone will love to tell you their favorite way to use netcat. So first things first, so we come over here to another terminal. This time we're going to set it up to listen on port 9000 with one extra thing, an output option. So basically it's going to take anything that it receives and it's going to put it to a file called runme. Now back over here on our connection, our second terminal, we're going to use netcat to send the file. We'll do it like this. We'll do netcat-v, our attack box IP address, and the port, and we'll use the less than arrow to feed it the file. Make sure you hit enter on your listening port first. There we go. That's what we want to see. Connected to IP and port and succeeded. So we come back over here. So if we just hit Control-C to cancel this, list out, you can see we've got a file called runme right here. So now since we're on attack box, let's use the string command, see if we can find anything interesting. Alrighty, so I'm going to have a block of this text censored out. So right here you can see where we have the please enter your password, and if we're correct, we get this. And it executes this touch command, else we get access denied printed out. Now, if you're not familiar with looking at things through strings or hex edit or hex dump, basically when it comes to passwords, you're looking for one of three things. You're looking for very obvious easy words, such as names, pet names, locations, cities, stuff like that. You're looking for words that are obviously passwords. Password 1234, or some slightly odd combination that doesn't look too random. And third, you want to look for any type of hash string, something like a base 64 or an MD5 or something like that. And of course, with the hashes and stuff, it does take time to learn how to look for those things, and that's part of hacking, is looking for patterns and learning how to look for those patterns. I will say that rather easily with this one, it does stand out. And if you're having a hard time guessing the password, then we're going to move over to my Python script that I wrote. And I thought was interesting and a little bit of a challenge that I wanted to take, because what if this password was hash and we couldn't see it? Well, we need to brute force the password and guess it. So let me go over that Python script. Let me go over that Python script real quick with you. Okay, so here we are. Standard Python with the bin bash at the beginning. I'm importing from subprocess popen command and pipe, and then I have it print out that we're importing the rocku.txt. We're going to use that as our password list. Now, just a little note, if you want to use this file with your own script, something that I found I often have to do is use this errors equals ignore, because there is apparently a character in the file that Python UTF-8 doesn't like when it tries to read in the file. But I usually don't have any problems with it whenever I do this. And we're just going to assign that to pass list, so now we have a list of passwords. Then I print out that the import was successful, and now we're going to attempt to crack the password. So here I set a boolean to false, and while it is false, we're going to go through each of those passwords. We're going to run the popen command. We'll run the runme file, and this is standard practice for popen. This allows communication between your script and the command. And we want to pass, using the input, that password, but it has to be byte encoded, not string. So we're just going to use the .encode UTF-8, pass that input into the communication for this popen, and we're going to get back a tuple. Now, why are we getting back a tuple? Well, there's a standard out and a standard error, and they're sent as one thing. So we just want the out, so that's why this 0 is here in brackets. And then we want to check this test out to see if the word denied is not in there, which, if you remember, we saw a line that says welcome cat lover, but if we're fail, we get access denied. So if denied is not in test.out.decode, because again, this is in a byte format, we want to check it with a string, so we use the decode option here. We set found to true, print out that we found a password, and we actually print it out. And we use break to get out of this for loop. And since we have found set to true now, this will not be true, and the program will exit. So just to show you real quick, this is how it works when you run it. That's a good thing. I forgot we moved and created a file, but we forgot one important thing. Do you notice what's missing if we're trying to execute something? That's right. We have to tell it that it's that we are allowed to execute it. Now let's try to run that Python script again. There we go. Simple as that. So if you want to, go back to where I had the code on the screen, pause the video, and take your time to type it out. It'd be a great little script for you to keep on the side in case you come across anything where you need a brute force password of an application you can keep local. So feel free to use it. Alrighty, so back to our box and to the runme file now, since we know the password. Alrighty, looks like it did take it just fine. So let's check the temp directory. Sure enough, we have a file called give me the SSH key. Let's see if there's something in it. Nothing in the file. Well, did anything else change? In the directory we're in, yes there is. Now we have an ID RSA file. If you're not familiar with these are SSH keygen files. So what are we going to do with it? Well, you could cat it out and then copy from your screen and paste it using another terminal, or we can simply go back and use our netcat command. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're back in our attack box here. We've got our netcat. We got to listen for port 9000, and we're going to set anything that it receives into a file called IDRSA. We're going to make sure we hit enter this time. There we go. Now let's go back to the other box. Alrighty, and just like before, we're using the netcache-v hostname port. We're going to feed it that IDRSA file. Okay, our attack box looks like everything's good, so we'll cancel it out. List, we do have an IDRSA file, and sure enough it has a key in it. So what we need to do next is make sure we use the change mod command with it, so we can actually use it with SSH. For that we do change mod 600 and the name of the file, in this case ID_RSA. And now we should be able to use SSH. We'll do that with SSH-I, tell we're going to be using a file and the name of the file. And consider in fact the folder we got this from was called cat lover. Pretty sure that's what we're going to be logging in as. And then we have our host on after the @ symbol there. Okay, it took it just a moment, but we are now in. Just finish waiting for the prompt here. some of these boxes can be a little slow. There we go. Now, interesting enough, it shows us as root. And if we run the ID command, sure enough, we are root. Okay, tried changing into that cat lover home directory and it said nothing there. So I tried to list out home, nothing there. Very interesting. What do we have? We just do ls where we're at. It looks like we have quite a bit, and there is a home directory. There's nothing in it. No hidden files either. Now, if you look back up here, we do have a root directory, and we are root, so let's go access it. All right. So in here we have our flag.txt. Now if you notice, it's called flag, not root.txt, and there are 2 flags for this box. So when you go put this in, you're going to find out that it's the first flag. So that means that we are not a true root. Kind of suspicious, right? So this kind of links back to what I was saying earlier, that there were some things missing. Yep, there it is. So if you do the ls-al command at the root directory, meaning of the partition, not the actual root folder, but the root of the partition, you see this .docker env file. That means you're in a Docker container. So this can get where it scares a few new people. They don't know what to do. One of the first things you want to check is what the output of the mount command is. Okay, so as you can see, we have quite a bit here, starting with this overlay. And you go down, you want to look for anything that looks like it's trying to mount a file system or another drive. And sure enough, we have one right here. It's mounting up an NVMe drive. Now we see you have a couple of different things here. That most likely is going to be what our website is coming from. Opt clean, that's an odd one you don't normally see. And we have a few other things here. Let's go take a look at that opt clean first. Okay, we'll list out, see if there's any files, and also check see if there's any hidden files. Nope, we only have one file called clean.sh. Now notice really quick, not executable, but it is owned by root. So let's see if we can add the executable. Okay, it looks like we were able to add it successfully. So first off, let's open it and take a look, and then we'll see if it's something we want to try to run. All right, so we got a bin bash. So this is, as noted by the .sh, a bash script, and it's running remove recursive force anything in the temp directory. Interesting. Now if we look back up here, our permissions, owner has write access, which makes sense. We are root, we own the file, we should be able to write to it. That means we can modify the code it runs. So I'm going to use nano. And remember that bash reverse shell we did earlier? Let's do that again. We'll open it up on another port. Okay, so here we go. We got the bash-c execute bash, and this time we got our IP address, and we're going to use port 9000 for this. So before I save this, because remember it's running automatically by itself, I want to come over here to my 4th terminal window and get that listener on port 9000 started. Come back here, hit Control-X, Y, enter, and now we wait. Okay, we're back and we have connection. I want to point out that in the script I did make a tiny error. Show you that real quick. This I had pointing the other direction. Little things like that will keep your reverse shells from happening. So don't stress out. Just calm down if it's not working. Take a deep breath. Go back and look what you inputted compared to what I have here, to what's on the website, and just double check things one at a time until you can find what's not working. So real quick, we'll just run the ID command. Good, everything is root. Let's list out what we have here. There's a root.txt. So there's our root flag. So I hope you better understand a little bit with the way I did this video when I marked things as recon phase and with exploit phase. In this instance, there was a total of 4 steps with that. So hopefully that gives you kind of a better understanding of how I go back and forth between the 2 processes, and I kind of break things up in my head. I tend to find that using this methodology of rocking back and forth between recon and exploit tends to help me think clearly about what I need to do at the point that I'm at in the box. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe, leave a like, and with that, hope you have a good week. I'll see you next time.